What breathes fire, blows smoke, has scales, and soars through the skies? Dragons. Building dragons from scratch is no small deal. And they don't just look real. They had to move like the real thing and be fast enough to chase us around the arena. Here's a look at the talented team that brings our dragons to life in the How to Train Your Dragon Live Spectacular.
Initially, it was looking at footage from the film and trying to establish how we would take those designs and translate them into physical creatures which could actually run around the arena or fly around the arena. One of Nigel's ideas for this was to combine lots of different puppetry techniques as much as we could. So there's elements of glove puppetry, shadow puppetry, and flying things, marionettes, all within the show, as well as our animatronics.
The process of making a dragon essentially starts with establishing the look of the dragon on a very small scale. So we sculpt a little 1 to 10 or 1 to 20 little maquette.
So once we've actually scanned the plasticine maquette, we can create a 3D model of the character, and that scanned data is used to create the 3D print. Is also given to Dominic, our head of digital design, who can then manipulate the model to incorporate the internal controls.
We begin by getting the mechanism, and we use this ultimately to create animated walk cycles and put that data into the actual control systems of the creature.
I hope you're hungry.
The main breakthrough is the bringing together of a multitude of technologies. It's a combination of high-end computer and mechanical engineering.
Let me just take a look at that tail of yours.
On this front leg, for instance, we have, I think it's about 7 axes driving that leg, lifting it up, placing it down, shrugging the shoulder, tilting the paw at just the right angle, and then placing it down on the ground. And that's actually very difficult for a robot to do in a naturalistic way, and that's what we are all about, is making robots that look realistic.
Toothless has over 30 servos to articulate body, ear movements, lip movements, eyes, but right through to some very detailed facial expressions.
The lead voodoo that does Toothless, Brian, he's an awesome guy. And every time that I play with Toothless, instead of playing with this robotic dragon, I think of this dragon that has the personality of Brian.
The voodoo rig is a miniature version of the large dragons that you're seeing on stage. So all those axes of movements on this kind of device correlate back to the movement of the large dragons on the stage. And then there's another voodoo puppeteer who operates some of the auxiliary movements. So they do all the sounds live, they open the mouth, they control the wings of the creature, and they've also got all the effects that you'll see on stage. And then the driver, who's responsible for the path and the speed that the creature takes.
There's personalities to these creatures. They take kids and adults on a journey. They're living, breathing, roaring.
Our workflow is now incorporating more of those lightweight components, carbon fibre, fiberglass, carbon Kevlar fabrics. Like we've gone with a much more high-end approach to the construction of the skulls, for example, which enables you to do more in performance. And then we get the final finishing touches before the characters go into their containers. So at this stage, there's final touches being done to both our half-scale Nightmare and our full-scale Nightmare. There's various special effects that have to be installed, and there's actually on-stage effects where we'll get real flame.
One of the fantastic things about this show, it's so complex. So we've got you guys on stage, we've got flight track dragons, we've got fire breathing, we've got smoke rings, we've got just simple little gags like Gobber is fending off the dragon, shoves it in the Gronkle's mouth, the Gronkle digests the chair, and it comes out his delightful backside in the form of wood chips.
It's such a clever blending of techniques to create something that kind of transcends the space, really. I couldn't have anticipated that it was going to be this elaborate. I can only imagine what a 10-year-old sitting in the audience is going to think. I mean, these things look like they're living and breathing and stomping around.
Okay, Sarah, so what's your favorite dragon?
I love the little egg biters. They're so cute.
No, I'd have to go with the stingers, guys. I mean, they're so fast.
I'd have to go with the Gronkle. Have you guys seen how far you can blow those smoke rings? It's incredible.
I mean, I'm gonna have to go with Toothless.
You're so predictable.
No, really, guys. He is so awesome. The dragons themselves look so realistic. Sometimes I forget they're puppets.
Everything that this Arena Spectacular is doing is huge. Take this projection screen, for instance. Now, a normal cinema screen is about 360 feet square. You can fit up to 9 screens on our back wall alone, and then double it on the ground space.
It was pretty daunting to start with, and also being asked to design the projection and the visuals and everything that had to do with this world that had to be illustrated.
Often video sits at the back and it can play and it can be cut and edited. We're talking about many, many projectors, so just the way they're stitched together is very challenging. And because we're trying to fly someone around a space, that every move that they make has to be related to the projection.
It's almost like playing a virtual reality video games. The screen's the back wall, and I'm like flying on the dragon. I'm going through, and it's like oh no, turn right, no, kid, don't hit the rock, and come on, Toothless, we got this, we got this. And then when I get it, it's like, yes!
Don't worry, we got it covered! Yeah! Woo!
The flying rig, it's like an enormous train system, like a metro system in the air, flying dragons around. Because there's tracks and there's changes and there's switches. The flying rig in itself is a whole show worth of complexity.
The flight track is basically an inverted monorail. So the idea is there are a pair of I-beam tracks that travel around in a configuration which is a sort of an extended figure eight with an outer perimeter, with the ability to switch between different sections of the track and move trolleys around so we can change direction.
It's the size of a football field, with a train system on top of it, flipped upside down, with carriages carrying dragons, traveling up to 20 miles per hour.
Sitting on an actual dragon and seeing the detail up close and seeing the movements and knowing that there's a flight track, tons and tons of weight above my head, and all this is happening in front of an audience of thousands of people, it's just magical.
Just in case you haven't noticed, the dragons are enormous. The stage is massive. Really, everything about this production is huge. But as big as this show is, the team can still pack everything up and move it to a new city in one day. Yeah, I couldn't believe it either. But that's how it makes its way to your city.
The biggest thing is probably the fact that we're having to move something that ordinarily you would try and sit down in a venue for quite a long time. So building it to be able to tour very quickly. I mean, it's got 2-day turnaround, so we pull out on the Sunday night, travel on the Monday, put the show up on Tuesday and perform on Wednesday. That's a fairly rapid movement for something this size.
Everything has to fit in one of these containers, so each container is only 12 metres long by about 2.4 by 2.4. You see at the moment, Nat is in the process of being dismantled so they can fit into one of these containers, and every week they come out again and they're undone and off they go.
I think we really wanted to create a sense of wonder at scale. The level of perfection in terms of engineering and the programming and all of that is very, very rigorous.
Everything is amazing about the show, from the cast to the dragon to the projections. It's exhilarating. Every show is awesome.
Stay fired up, because there's more spectacular sneak peek footage ahead.